Peace, peace, reflections. Peace, peace. Back again. Just making another small live video right now about consciousness and our consciousness being in the blood. Out here by this mango tree. Beautiful mango tree. As always, as promised, giving a view. I always give this view. This view is very important. When one sees this view, when one sees the green, when one sees this mountain, when one sees the mountain, when one sees the mango tree behind me, when one sees the palm trees, imagine. One must imagine and have imagination. When one imagines and has imagination, they can imagine themselves exactly where one is, where I am. Imagination is so powerful and so important because all things are manifestations of one's thoughts, from mind, from the consciousness. And our consciousness creates the reality that we see. If one is negative and one is sending out negative signals because one does not truly know and love thyself, one will receive that in the reality. What one thinks is what one's going to receive. Quote from Master Nature Boy that had said yesterday, dropped a little download that when one thinks about something for 60 seconds, I believe he said 60 seconds, it will start to manifest and move. This is how law of attraction works. It will start to manifest and move. Maybe it's 60 seconds is what happens. When one starts for 30 seconds, it will start to form, but it won't move. It will just be still in the thought form. But when 60 seconds happens, this is when it starts to move. This is when the law of the magnetic attraction starts, because one's sparking the electrical signals in the brain, and everything's interpreted from the electrical signals in the brain, because everything outside is just really inside, and it starts to manifest, and it will start to move. And it will start to magnetically attract to oneself. But one must have a pure heart and be humble, because if one doesn't have a pure heart and isn't humble, then what one will attract will be something negative rather than something positive. So one can still manifest and one can still attract, but based off the consciousness and the state of mind, whether one is positive or negative will determine the outcome of what one manifests into the reality, whether it's positive or a negative. But that's why being say be careful what one asks for, because one will get exactly what one asks for. But if one is negative and they ask for something, they will receive it in a negative connotation, in a negative lower vibrational state. But if someone asks for something and they're positive and conscious and humble, they'll receive that in the same light, positive, conscious, and humble, based off the electrical signals that they send out. Whatever electrical signals one sends out, and whatever vibration one sends out, that gets rippled back to one. That's why it's important with the rules: do unto others as one would have done to them. So if one does not want something done to them, then they should not do it to another, because that's just gonna affect that being in the same sense. The golden rules, all the ancients, the 42 laws of Ma'at, were all instructions for us to follow. Granted, we were unconscious. We have just gotten out of the Dark Age. The Dark Age was the age of where there was no truth, where the light was not shined, where there was no light workers, where light was just darkness. But now we're coming into the cycle of out of the Dark Ages, where the truth is here. It's the information age, and the truth is everywhere, and we're exposing truth, giving truth, reflecting that light for all reflections, so that they can take the truth and pick up their cross and walk the narrow path the righteous narrow path. So one was here to make a video about consciousness, and excuse me, consciousness and where consciousness is. Consciousness is in one's blood. Generally, one's consciousness is in the stomach. This is why when one eats, it takes consciousness to digest the food and to do what, do all the work that it does in one's stomach. Now we know this because when one gets aroused, the consciousness goes to one's extended clitoris, and then thus one is thinking with their sexual mind, their sacral chakra, their sacral chakra. They're thinking with that consciousness, because all the blood goes to that one area of that one organ, and then that's where one's consciousness lies. Just as if one got hurt, or one had hurt their arm would go numb because all the blood has gone to that part of the arm and their consciousness there to help block the pain, so that one does not feel that. This is where one's consciousness lies. Oh, one can hear me. And where consciousness lies. Now, knowing this, knowing where consciousness lies is important, because when we eat unhealthy, when we eat animals, when we eat the animal, the blood that's in the meat stores their consciousness. The water stores their consciousness. When we eat this meat, when we eat these animals, the blood mixes with our own. And remember, this is a foreign entity. We're not supposed to eat meat. We're frugivores. We're made to eat fruit. Look at the structures of our teeth. Our teeth are meant to eat fruit. If we look at frugivores, like there's monkeys and such that are frugivores, we look at the structure of their teeth, it's the same as ours. They don't eat meat. We are frugivores. We are supposed to eat plant-based diets, which is fruit, like this mango tree behind me. Fruit. Now when we eat this, and also fruit has meat too. The texture, what we eat is the meat of the fruit, and the water is the blood of the fruit. And that holds information as well. That holds consciousness as well. So everything has consciousness, everything has meat, in a sense. So when we eat this meat from the cow or from the pig or whatever, the blood that's in that has their consciousness in it. Now the last thing that one experienced before the death was stress and release of stress and the release of this negative emotion. Now granted, we're not even supposed to be eating that anyways, but on top of that, the stress and the emotion that that animal felt is also in the consciousness of the meat through the water and the blood. So when we eat this and we mix it in our body, we take on one's consciousness, and this helps. This creates a low vibrational state. Even though the beings that are in Babylon right now are operating on a low vibrational frequency, this adds to the pot and the mixture of the ignorance and unconsciousness of these beings eating this meat, because the consciousness mixes with their blood, and then that blood gets transferred, and the information tries to get translated through one's being, and then it messes with our own living matrix and our own consciousness, because we are adding to our consciousness with a foreign entity's consciousness that experience trauma and stress, and this puts trauma and stress inside our being, and then we act out in these negative aggressive ways, because that's the last ways that these beings acted out in a negative aggressive way. So we take on their consciousness. But when we do take on their consciousness and we start eating meat, we start craving other things. We start craving vegetables. We start craving what they eat. So we eat vegetables. This is why when one eats a steak, they generally have some type of leaf. They generally have some type of vegetable, whatever. So we're taking on the consciousness of these animals, and then we're starting to crave what the animals eat, which is vegetables and whatever they go out and eat grass and stuff. So we crave that. We start craving this, and this is unnatural because our consciousness and the way that we naturally are supposed to crave things, we naturally crave sweet things. And what is sweet? Fruit is sweet. We naturally crave that. So when we take on their consciousness, we're craving what they want. We start becoming the animal. This is the age of where, okay, now we are becoming conscious about the fact that we're taking on and we're becoming the animal. We're starting to eat like the animal. Now we're eating what we say, okay, we know this. I'm conscious enough to realize that the animal, what I'm eating, the meat, is affecting my being. Now I'm not going to eat the animal anymore because I'm conscious of this. I don't need to eat the animal. I know that I'm becoming the animal by eating the animal. So I'm going to discard the animal and start eating what the animal eats because this is the levels of consciousness. So I become a vegetarian or a vegan, whatever one wants to call it. And then I start eating the vegetables. I start eating the plant. And then I realize, oh, I'm eating this plant. I become the plant. I'm eating this plant, and I start feeling the plant. And I start realizing that I don't want to eat the plant. I want to eat what the plant eats. And what does the plant eat? Minerals. Now, how do we eat minerals? What are we going to go do? Just go dig up in the ground and eat the minerals? No. The plant provides minerals for us to eat in our natural state. The plant produces fruit. So instead of eating the plant, we'll eat the fruit, because the fruit is where the minerals come from. The plant pulls the nutrients up through the xylem and through the water and the nutrients that it gets from the ground, and this mixes and has all the information and all the nutrients that the plant gets from the ground, creates all that, pulls it up through the xylem, creates that through photosynthesis, and then creates a fruit that hangs on the tree, like this one right here. This is the same thing. Now this has all the minerals and all the stuff that the plant eats in the ground that comes out in a fruit form for us to be able to eat. So we don't have to eat the plant. We don't have to eat the plant anymore. We can eat what the plant produces. This way we don't have to harm the plant. We don't have to go eat broccoli. We don't have to go eat that stuff that has no fruit on it. It's just that's not for us to eat. Our digestive system does not actually, it's not designed to, digestive tract is not designed to fully digest that food. Like if one eats kale, like when one was going through a vegan stage, one ate kale. When one eats kale, they don't digest that very well. If one looks at their stool after and their pot after they eat kale, they can see and notice that there's little bits of that kale and that stuff in there that didn't actually break down in one's system. Digest very well, because our digestive tract isn't meant to digest that. The cows and the animals that actually eat the grass and such, that's meant for them to eat, so they can digest, because their digestive tract is actually meant to digest that stuff. Ours is not. Ours is meant to digest foods that will take less time to go through our digestive tract, like bananas and all fruits, because fruits are they're like applesauce. They like mash up. As soon as we mash them up in our body, they just instantly go right through us. They don't take any time to digest, and that's how we're supposed to be eating. When we eat all these foreign foods and such, they sit and fester in our body, and they take time to digest because our digestive tract isn't meant in order to do that. We have a natural diet, just like we have a natural environment, and it just so happens that where our natural food, our natural diet is where our natural environment is. So we can logically put this together and be like, okay, so I'm supposed to eat fruit. This is my natural diet. Oh, wait a minute, but where does the fruit grow? Where does the fruit grow in abundance, where we don't have to go pick through a store to find the organic section? Like, where can I go get my natural food, my natural diet, where I won't have to go and pick through an organic section to try to find my fruit? And where does it grow in abundance? Oh, the tropics. So we look at the tropics between Cancer and Capricorn, and then we realize, oh, so I'm conscious about my fruit with my food, but now what about other foods? And then we realize that food is also not just what we put in our mouth, but it's also clean water. Water is a form of that, and we generally are just supposed to get that from fruit. We're not even really supposed to drink water because water dries out the body. We're supposed to get that from the fruit. So we say, oh, okay, so we need natural water. We need good air quality. And then we start looking around our environment and we say, oh, where I am, I don't have good air quality. There's no good air quality there because it's filled with smog. There's no trees. Trees produce carbon. Trees produce oxygen. We produce carbon. So we need to be in an environment where we can have an equal exchange of energy there, where we are breathing in oxygen and then we're producing carbon. We have a direct connection to these trees. Inside the red blood cell is iron, and iron helps transport the carbon or the oxygen through the body, and then transform that into carbon so that we can release that and the plants can get what they need. And inside the plants is chlorophyll, and chlorophyll has magnesium in it. Magnesium helps transfer carbon throughout there so that they can produce oxygen for us. So we have a direct connection, a direct exchange of energy with these plants. Not even, and that's only one too. We have pot and water that we create inside our body that we're actually supposed to give back to these plants. And this is how we fit the cycle of harmony, of being one with nature and being in nature and becoming one with that. So there's so many connections that we have, and everything has consciousness. So it's important that we understand we're conscious about this consciousness, and that the fruit has consciousness, and there's the blood in this fruit has consciousness, and that our blood stores consciousness, and that the cow and the animals, their blood stores consciousness. So it's important to be mindful of what consciousness one is picking up. The plants have consciousness too. So when one eats the plant, they become the plant. Just as if when being smoked marijuana, they become marijuana. That's the high one gets. The high one gets is them becoming the plant, becoming marijuana, becoming the marijuana plant. That's what it is. One's getting their consciousness. And consciousness is stored in water. And when one smokes it, the gas is just a less condensed form of water. And one's taking in that consciousness and becoming high, and then the mind's becoming distorted and like, oh wow. But we're not supposed to smoke the plant. The plant actually does itself. The plant actually releases its own THC pheromones when it is in its natural environment, and the sun hits the plant at solar noon, when the sun is at its apexes and its hottest. And then it hits the plant, and then the plant releases its THC receptors, and then the whole marijuana field gets lit up with the THC, and then one breathes it in, and then one gets high naturally, without killing the plant, without taking the buds off. It's just a natural high, and this is exactly how we're supposed to get high. These are meditative grounds. They're not areas where we're supposed to go and chop down the tree and take the bud and try to sell it. That's not how it's supposed to be. Everything's free in nature. One just has to be conscious enough to get in tune with that and be one with that, become in harmony, and know how to become in harmony. We need to get away from being the cancer and become the immune system. Now is the time to become the immune system. Okay, family, so one just wanted to give that download about consciousness, and it's important to understand consciousness and understand that everything has consciousness, and that what one subjects themselves to, they will become, and that it's unnatural for beings to eat meat, and that if one just studies the anatomy and the shape and the structure of our being, they will know that we're not supposed to. We are not even built to eat meat. We're not even built to eat some of the things that we're eating. Our digestive tract isn't meant to be, put certain things in one's being like that. Fruit is our natural diet, and living in the tropics is our natural environment. So we have a natural diet and a natural environment. And when one finds their natural diet, they will find their natural environment. So get between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. It's simple, it's logical. And it's not too complex to figure out. I'm just connecting the dots for all my reflections out there. So, anyways, till next time, peace, love, and light.